Hi, welcome. My name is Shannon, and this is my Knitters Live series, season 3 for 2023. Started it in 2021. And yeah, welcome to my little corner of YouTube where I chat about the things that I am knitting and some general life stuff, as well as spinning. Those are my two fiber related, well, I lied. There's a third fiber related hobby or pastime, and that's yarn collecting. Although more about that in a few minutes. Yeah, I am coming to you here from where I work and live in northern New Jersey. I, at this moment in time, live in the suburbs, I would say, of New Jersey, like on that fringe of like the suburbs start to kind of spread out to countryside and, you know, but it's still very much a village or town feel. Yeah, so welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for, if you're new or returning, thank you so much for your comments and your love and support. I felt it on my last episode where I shared that I will be moving soon, and just I was reeling a little bit from the pace at which it seemed all of these events were happening. It's a complicated scenario as to why. I'm not going to get into why I will be moving, but I'm moving soon. But yeah, thank you so much for your love and support on that. I really deeply appreciate all of the comments, and even if you just gave the video a thumbs up or you liked other people's comments, thank you. I really deeply appreciate it. And because I'm here making these episodes for you, to connect with you and to get to know you, as well as to share my crafting with you. So yeah, I thank you. Can't say it enough. And yeah, I'm looking forward to, this year. I had, the move that I am making, I'm moving house, it wasn't unexpected except for the timing. Like, I knew I would need to move soon. I figured I could wait till the summer or maybe early fall to move. But as it turns out, things just kind of happened, and it ends up that now I'll be moving more quickly. I'll be moving this spring instead. So before I get into the knitting and general life stuff, I'm going to start this episode how I start every episode, which is most episodes, I should say, because it may change a bit. I usually do a whiskey chat or a gin chat. So today is a whiskey chat. I filmed it last night. I was thinking about continuity and made sure I was wearing this sweater, which I'll talk about when I come back from the whiskey chat. Yeah, so it's a whiskey from one of my whiskey advent calendars. And if you have never seen a whiskey chat here on this channel or a gin chat, I take about 10 minutes to just chat with you about a whiskey or gin that's new to me. And yeah, I tell you about it. I tell you about where it's produced and any of the production details that I can find from the company's, publications and such, and give you a little lay of the land in terms of where it is and all of that. They take about 10 minutes on screen. I will be doing the background of the whiskey or gin, and then talking a little bit about production, and then tasting it and sharing with you the tasting notes. That's it. If you're not into it, totally fine. I'm going to tell you where to skip to right now, so you can jump right into the wool, where I'll talk about what I'm wearing and what Martha's wearing. Martha is my mannequin, and she is my size. So it's really handy to have a mannequin your size, I think. To pop things on so you can take a step back and look at it objectively. Anyway, whiskey chat coming at you right now. Hi, how are you? I hope you're doing well. I probably already said that because this is the whiskey chat. I am going to taste for you one of the whiskeys that I got in my whiskey advent for 2022. I never heard of this before, but it is called Samuel Gulliver & Co. England's Number 6. And I got Drinks by the Dram, or I got the whiskey countdown calendar was by Drinks by the Dram, and I got it from the Spirit Co., which I think is an England-based, English-based, UK-based company, but they ship to the US. It's hard to find local US companies that put together an advent. Anyway, what can I tell you about Samuel Gulliver & Co. England's Number 6? It is a English whiskey. The number 6 stands for a 6-year aging time. You can see, I think, that it is quite light for a whiskey, and that we can attribute to the small, short window in which it was aged. Whiskey in general needs to be aged a minimum of 6 years to be called whiskey. And it's unusual to find a young one that's only 6 years. Most are 10, 12, 15, and so on and so on. So, and higher and higher. And sometimes in between some strange numbers and stuff, just depending on the brewmaster and what he or she was going for or tasted that particular day in their rounds through where casks are stored and such. Okay, this whiskey, I found a couple interesting things to tell you about it. It is distilled in St. George Distillery, which is in Norfolk, England. I'll pop a map on screen. It's, as far as I can tell, it's a beautiful coastal, rural, semi-rural county that is north of London, and it has a coastline. And it seems like it is attractive to vacation or like weekend away from London, maybe, or London metropolitan area, something along those lines. But it looks beautiful. St. George's Distillery is owned by the English Whisky Company. The English Whisky Company has a very, very long time that they've been making. I think it's been around for the family that opened the English distillery, or the English whiskey, or the English distillery, right? The English Whiskey Distillery. Let me just make sure I'm getting that right. The English Whisky Company. The family that opened it has their roots going back to the region, to the 1300s. That was what I found on their website. And the family is called the Nelstrop family. They also had farmlands and such, and they came like from this farming tradition and all of that, and eventually went ahead and opened a distillery. I think St. George's was opened in 2006. So I think the idea that this big company, what is now a big company, the English Distillery Company, wanted to open a micro distillery, and so they started very small to make whiskey. And it grew. So now they make, I was reading somewhere, I'm trying to look at my notes, 80,000 liters of alcohol a year. They will personalize bottles. And so stores like Marks and Spencer in the UK will sell their own English whiskey with their own label, but it's made by the English Whisky Company or the English Whisky Distillery at St. George's Distillery. So 2006 was when they opened, or they established St. George's, and it opened officially in March 2007. And it was a 45-year dream of the family, of the Nelstrop family, to open a distillery to make whiskey. Okay, so they use barley that's produced locally, and they use water that's also local. And they make a whole bunch of whiskeys under their own label. As far as I can tell, this one, I think I have the story. This one is named for the English rugby team or rugby sport. And it's a celebration of all players who wear number 6. I know nothing about rugby, so if that excites you, you might like this. You might want this whiskey for that, rather than maybe not necessarily because of what it tastes like. Of course, you always want it to taste good. Yeah, so it's sort of become as far as I can tell, I don't know anything about rugby, or I don't know much about the UK, but it has been associated with the sport of rugby, and it's been like it's the official, if you will, or unofficial official whiskey for rugby. The bottle is really pretty. It has red writing on it, or red print and stuff, and it has rugby players on the box. So there you have it. Let's dig into what it tastes like. Oh, in case you're new, I know I have a handful of new viewers. I always use, this is what I would call a wee dram. It is a very small Scotch whiskey dram. Most drams are about twice this size. And I poured, this is only a 1 ounce pour, which isn't really a serving. A serving would be an ounce and a half, but this is fine for a tasting. And I poured this into the glass, put a few drops of water. Water helps open up the flavors and help you taste the flavors better than just drinking it straight. You can taste it both ways. And I think when you are officially tasting something, you would want to taste it, take a wee sip before you put the water in, and then after. And I think then you'll really see the difference. I've done that frequently enough to know that I like a few drops of water. You can also put half water if you want, if that makes it more drinkable for you. You can put ice in it if you want. That's okay too. You can drink whiskey however you want, right from the bottle with a straw. It doesn't matter. Just do whatever you like. But anyway, I have put a few drops of water in here just to open up the flavors. And you always begin a tasting by smelling, so I'm going to do that. This smells very sweet. I am surprised because when I read that it was a 6-year, I expected some sort of burn or like more alcohol scent to it, but it does not have that. I want to say that it's almost peachy or apricot. Apricot might be a little bit more accurate. I'm not smelling any oaky notes. Oak usually imparts flavors of pastry or butter. I don't smell any of that. Just a really bright, fruity. There's an underlying tone that might be something like toffee. Not quite caramel, but definitely that. That along like a lighter taste or a smell. All right, I'm going to taste. Wow. Surprisingly smooth for a 6-year. Definitely taste more apricots. There's a little burn. Not much though. Little spice, maybe a hint of spice at the end. Peppery. A little bit of a cake taste too, like maybe vanilla. I'm gonna see what, I always like to, after I'm done doing my own tasting and sort of seeing what I can find, I like to read what some experts have to say about it. And so this time around, I have 2 expert reviews that I'm using. Let me just scroll down. Okay, on the nose, warming malt, cakey vanilla, and slow build of cinnamon and honeyed apple. I didn't get any of those on the nose, but on the palate I did. A burst on the palate, burst of juicy pineapple and citrus with hints of crackled peppercorn heat. And the finish is spicy on the finish with mellowed by brown sugar and honey. That is according to Master of Malt. And the whiskey shop says, on the nose, apricots. The palate, I love when I get it right. I'm usually like 50%, I would say. Palate is sweet with flavors of tropical fruit and vanilla, which would be the cake vanilla. Usually we associate vanilla with cake, and most cakes have a little bit of vanilla, even if they're a different flavor. And this just says the finish is lingering and satisfying. It's really good. I would recommend it. It retails for around about $80 US, as far as I can tell. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this very unique whiskey chat. And I will see you next time. Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that. I had a very frazzled week. So if I didn't look completely pulled together in that, or maybe I was a little more disjointed than normal, it's because I had a very frazzled week. So I found a place to move to. I made an offer and it was accepted, which is a big, that's the first big step. But then after that comes all the other stuff, like all the administrative stuff that you need to do, like filing for the loan application. The apartment that I'll be moving into is it's situated right along the Hudson River. If you're familiar with New Jersey, there are a series of towns along the Hudson River that have very fast connections. Most of those towns are around the Lincoln Tunnel to the south, or the George Washington Bridge to the north. So those towns are situated in a way that they're easily commutable to New York City. Lincoln Tunnel and GW Bridge are the two connections for people that are coming through New Jersey to get into New York. There's another one further south where you go over Staten Island. But that's basically it. That's the only way to get to the city from the whole rest of the nation. You've got to cross the Hudson at some point to get over there. And so further north, you can cross the Hudson at a few other places. And of course, there are states on the other side of the Hudson, like Connecticut and Massachusetts and Rhode Island and Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont. All of those are on the other side of the Hudson, so they can just drive straight down without crossing a body of water, but I need to cross a body of water to get over there. Anyway, the building, it's a co-op. I bought an apartment in a co-op building, is right on the Hudson River. So it has Hudson River views, New York City views that are spectacular. I cannot wait to share those with you. You will know that I have moved when the opening sequence to the video is the city. At night maybe, or during the day, whatever I can capture, whatever is picturesque and beautiful. And I will, I definitely will be sharing my new neighborhood with you here in those clips. I think that's a nice way. I think what you saw today was a clip of some deer that live, because I live in a very wooded, almost countryside small village right outside of the city. And there's a lot of deer around, a lot of wildlife. There's some foxes and raccoons and things like that, hedgehogs and porcupines, all of that is around. So whenever I see them, I capture them and share them with you. Which reminds me, I saw a turkey on my drive home from work a couple days ago, and I filmed it. The turkey was on full display. It was a male turkey in the middle of the road, and around here, there's lots of gentle souls, and they pretty much, waited for it to get out of the road. So I took a little clip while I was waiting for the turkey to move so we could all drive. But that's at the end if you want to check that out. Anyway, let's get into the knitting, shall we? That is my update on the move. I'm sure I'll be talking about it more down the road towards the end of the video. Some of the nitty gritty things, minutia that I've been dealing with. But I want to share with you my finished object. I finished Funfetti. This is by Sylvia Watts Cherry, a pattern by Sylvia Watts Cherry, and it is in, do I have it here? Yes, it is in Lana Magazine from summer 2022, this right here. I will show you a picture of, this sweater has been a journey, not for any reason other than the timing of it. There it is in the magazine. It's got kind of a sweatshirt style to it, I would say, like a sweatshirt fit. It's really baggy. I probably could have gone down a size, I would say. I probably could have knit a smaller size, and the fabric, at least with the yarn I use, grows like crazy. So the pattern is actually written for Westwool, I think bicycle, no, whatever is DK. Is that tandem or bicycle? Anyway, it's the pattern's written for Westwool, which I've knit with it. It's beautiful yarn. I highly recommend. I think it would be great. I ended up using some Lamb & Kid. Here it is. Lamb & Kid, her DK base Todd, which is 65% yak, 35% cashmere. Anorak is the gold color that you're seeing here. So these are the colors that I used. This is Anorak. The brown is chili, which is kind of a red brown. The blue, the turquoise is K, and the orange is called Caftan. So these are the 4 colors that you're seeing. It might be the nature of the yarn as well as the pattern, this like slip stitch pattern that you do to get this texture. I'm looking crooked. Like I often look crooked, and I swear it's my camera. I'm gonna just try to tilt it a bit. That's worse. What happens is my camera has a leveler, and I level it, but then I end up propping it on, putting it on rugs and such, so it gets a little crooked. That looks better to me. It looks more straight. Anyway, the pattern, the stitch pattern is a slip stitch pattern. That's how you get these, like this kind of like houndstooth look. It's so cute. But knit in this Lamb & Kid cashmere yak blend, it really relaxed a lot, and I went from having a sweater that was probably this long to one that was as long as this sweater here that's on Martha, and that was just like wow. And the sleeves too. The sleeves are quite long. I don't mind it though. I mean, I could push those sleeves up pretty easily. I was delighted actually that it grew so much, because I was first like, oh my goodness, I think I made it a little too short for my liking. I've done that recently with a couple sweaters just because crop sweaters are so popular right now. So yeah, I was glad that it grew, and I have been wearing the heck out of it. I love it so much. It is such soft, beautiful yarn. Costly. And the thing is, like, the other thing, I just want to complain about this a little bit. I think I complained about this in my last episode, but I bought the same amount of these colors, and the gold, for some reason, the Anorak color, it was short on the skein. I don't know why. There's no other way to say it, but you can really see it here, because I used the exact same amount of yarn for all 3 colors, and I bought 3 skeins of each. So I have a pretty significant amount of the chili, the brown, the red, this reddish brown, and the blue left. But the gold, I have hardly anything. I had also bought 3 skeins of the orange Caftan color, and I ended up using a full skein plus a dab of the second skein, and I'm now making a hat out of these, which you'll see later in whips. So yeah, that was a little bit of a shock. I ended up, like, after I caked the 3rd skein, I weighed them all, and these guys were like 52, 53 grams, and these were like 46, 47. So I don't know why they were short on the skein, but they were. It was a little bit of a bummer. It worked out okay for me, and if it hadn't, I probably would have been more inclined to reach out about it and just say, hey, you know, these were short, and I don't know why, but they were. Yeah. It's expensive yarn, so for it to be short on the skein is a little bit troublesome to me. But I still love it. It's beautiful. I do think it's like, I've already worn it a couple times, and you can see there's some pills, I think you can see. It's a little pilly, but it's a short fiber, so when you spin short fibers, they're more likely to pill. So yak and cashmere are both short fibers. As opposed to some of the wools, especially long wools like BFL, that doesn't pill hardly at all because the fiber is so long. But yeah, that is Funfetti. I really enjoyed knitting it. It just it seemed like it took forever because I cast it on, I think, in October, and then it got sidelined while I did some gift knitting for Christmas, and then it got sidelined again because I got blindsided by this, this need to move. So, but I persevered and finished. I'm so happy with it. All right. I have another finished object that will be a surprise because it was not a whip last time. I made the Manhattan hat by, I think her name is Tori Yu. I'm going to put the name on screen. I think I got that right. The designer is named Tori Yu. And I just wanted something mindless to knit as I was just processing everything that was happening in my life. And I was watching a Caddy Jacks episode, and Jackie has been making this hat while she's going through her own trying time, and she's made several of them. And I just was sitting on the couch at the beginning of the year watching one of the episodes and thinking to myself, like, oh, I actually was thinking about this yarn because she used the Todd base held together with a skein of mohair. And I was like, oh, I have this, but I don't think I have enough. So I would have to have done like a color block one. And then I had this realization that I had a whole bunch of superwash yarn that I was really keen to use up. And I could hold 2 strands together to get to DK weight, and I had matching mohair. So I just kind of dug through my stash and came up with this combo. This is actually 2 different mohairs in here. One is leftovers from Neighborhood Fiber Company. I don't remember the name. Do I have the tag here? No, I don't think it had a tag with it anymore, but it was Neighborhood Fiber Company. It was like this lovely turquoise color. And then I had a dab of some Italian kid silk mohair, or kid mohair silk. And it just matched well. So I had a little dab of that and a little dab of this. And I'm holding it together with 2 skeins from a dyer who no longer dyes. That is the trouble. Oh, here's the mohair. That's the Italian mohair. It feels a little rougher, but I think it's because there's oils. I think there's machine oils in it. That's the same thing that happened with the Todd base. There was some machine oils in it, and once I soaked it, once I blocked it, it got much, much softer. So this is a brand called, oh my goodness, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, but it is, they call it Kid Sita, which I think Sita. So the name is Grugasco. And I bought it at Halcyon Yarn way back when my sons were still going to college in Maine, because Halcyon is in Bath, Maine, which is near Brunswick, Maine, which is where one of my sons went. So I think that's when I bought this. He graduated in 2014 for reference. So this little skein of mohair has been hanging around for quite some time. And it was a full skein. So that's the mohair. And then the two skeins I'm holding together are this yarn here. This is by, do I have the tag? I should. Again, dyer who doesn't dye anymore. This yarn is probably, it's at least 4, if not 5 or more years old. It is from this dyer called Twisted Finch. Twisted Fitch. A UK, I believe, Scottish dyer who stopped dyeing some time ago. And this colorway, he called it My. And it is just a sock blend, 75-25 sock. Guess it's not going to focus. And I bought 2 skeins just because I loved it. I was in a time in my life where I was doing a lot of yarn collecting and buying from all the designers, indie dyers whose work I loved. And this is just a beautiful turquoise with a red violet speckle that, occurs every so often. And I think you can see the way it knits up pretty well here in the Manhattan hat. It is so cute. So I did the triple brim. The Manhattan hat, you can make single brim, double brim, or triple brim. This is the way the triple brim looks when you unfold it. But turquoise is one of my favorite colors. So I was just like, this just had my name all over it. See if I can put it on. There we go. But it is so cute. I love it so much. I thought for some reason I was going to use all of the yarn. I didn't. I have enough to make a whole nother hat, so I'm doing that. I did cast on a second hat with the same colors. I have enough mohair. I have enough of everything to make, because it was 2 skeins, so I actually could have made the one hat with 1 skein, just dividing it into 2 balls. And some mohair. So yeah, I have a new hat cast on, just 1 inch. So cute, right? Oh my gosh, it is so warm. I love this hat so much. It is just perfect. I love the little tab that's on top. And you could wear it this way, or you could turn it the other way, so it's like that on your head, or you can pull it all the way down and make a fatter brim if you don't like anything sticking up. But I love it. I love it. So I inadvertently showed you a whip while I was showing an FO. All right. Anyway, love it, love it, love it. As I said, turquoise is one of my favorite colors. So if you've been around a while, you are probably well aware of that, because I tend to gravitate back to that color over and over. Yeah, so those are my 2 FOs, the Funfetti by Sylvia Watts Cherry and the Manhattan Hat by Tori Yu. And let me talk to you about my whips. Let's talk about what Martha is wearing. So Martha is wearing a design by me, yet unnamed. This I am hoping to finish, and I should be okay, because I'm hoping to finish it for Vogue Knitting Live, which is in 2 weeks. All I have left is the neckband and the sleeves. Oh my gosh, can you see my cat behind me? Oh, you can't. Hi. He's on the bed behind me. He's like, oh my god, I've been caught. No, you haven't. You're fine. He's so silly. You'll probably see video of him if you haven't already, because he's just adorable, and I might even put some video right in here so you can see him. Anyway, yes, this is going to be my Vogue Knitting Live sweater, and it is also designed by me. I haven't published a design since 2020 because I have a job. I have a full-time gig that is a time suck, as your job should be. I don't have a lot of spare time to be twiddling around or toying around with all of the work and energy that goes into doing design. So I just make a design for myself, for me, whenever I am inclined to, if usually I'm motivated to design something when I don't find what I'm looking for, this thing that I want to make. I can't find what I'm looking for on already existing, so I'll go ahead and make myself a design, and I will grade it and have it tech edited and publish it and make it available for people who might be interested in also making the design. So I've been putting designs on Ravelry since 2016, and yeah, they're there. There's a handful. There's 2 or 3 stocking patterns, like Christmas stocking patterns. There are couple socks. One's a free sock pattern. That was a vintage sock that I had reworked for. I still wrote it with double pointed needles, because at that time there weren't those flippy flicks from, I'll show you what I'm talking about. There weren't this style needle. I now use these instead of double points, these flippy flicks, flexi flips from Addie, and then a couple other companies also make them. Haya I think makes them and such. So I wrote it for double points. I'm not a magic loop person. I just don't like the fiddliness of pulling the cord over and over. And these flexi flips take care of that for you. So yeah, anyway, vintage sock pattern with written for double points, but you can easily modify for magic loop, and that one's free. And yeah, a few other patterns, some pullovers and things like that. Most of them are pretty well tested, and yeah. I just want to say too, I like to just point this out, because if you look at my patterns, there won't be a lot of project pages. Because most people that buy patterns on Ravelry do not make project pages. They just buy the pattern and knit it and move on with their lives, because making a project page is time consuming. So even though I encourage testers to make project pages, I've worked with testers that are not on Ravelry and don't know what it is and don't want to know what it is, like just are up to their eyeballs in other social media and don't want to be involved, which is fine. So just FYI, just generally speaking, I would say that most, unless there's a cal involved, most people, or a lot of people that buy patterns, do not bother with a page. So don't let that stop you from buying a pattern that doesn't have a lot of projects like mine. Because I would say my highest selling pattern is one of my stocking patterns. I've sold a few hundred of it, and I think the only I haven't looked recently, but I think the only project pages are mine. Who knows? And I've made those stocking patterns. I've made like almost 30 of those stockings, so I know the pattern works. But please reach out if you are confused about terminology or something like that. I'm happy to talk about it. Anyway, moving back to what Martha's wearing, this yet unnamed design, which will be a V-neck. It's going to have a V-neck trim. That'll be the next thing that I'm going to knit. I literally just cast off the rib this morning. And yeah, I did it so I could talk to you about it. So yeah, I will be knitting sleeves. They will follow the same striping pattern that you see here. And the neck trim will be the darkest color, which is what I would consider the main color, this deep dark purple. The yarn is, I really wanted a hairy sweater, like a floofy hairy sweater, and I wanted to work with a yarn that was new to the marketplace. So I did a little sourcing. I reached out to a couple companies and I landed on this one. So this is by Moondrake Yarns. It is her Fuwa Fuwa base. Moondrake. Fuwa Fuwa is 70% brushed cashmere and 30% superwash merino. Rose quartz is the color of the lightest color you're seeing right here, this one. Yeah, so it is a floofy yarn, as you can see. Lots of floof. She calls it a fingering weight, which I mean, it's definitely a little bit beefier than the Mohair-silk that's around. I had Mohair-silk here. We can maybe do a side by side. How about that? Yeah, it is definitely thicker than this, I would say. I don't know if I'd say it's fingering weight difference. But maybe if you count all that floof. The thing with floof is that it could be squished, right? So who knows? Who knows? I am holding 2 strands together on this sweater, and I am knitting it with a size 7, US size 7, which is, I believe, a 4mm or 4.5 millimeter needle. And yeah, it's basically stockinette. You work in the round when you get to the body. When you're shaping the V-neck, you're working back and forth. There's some short rows in the back. I do think it's going to grow when I block it. It's a little, I think this fit is fine. In my head, it was a little bit baggier, and I think the reason it's looking more snug is because I worked from a blocked swatch, and this is unblocked at this moment. But it's got traditional raglan shaping, some short rows up here to raise the neck, some stitches that get added along the neckline here to create the V. Then you join in the round and close up there. And yeah, put your stitches on hold for the sleeve and knit away. Let me go through the rest of the colors. This one is called Electric Berry. This one is called Electric Lilac, and this is called Lichen. It turns out, like, the reason I wasn't able to get too much further is I need more than 1 skein of the Electric Lilac. I might need more than 1 skein of the Rose Quartz. This is all I have left. I'm hoping it will get me through the 2 sleeves. I definitely am fine with the Lichen, which you can see there. I have 2 balls left, so I have plenty of that color. But you can see that's also the smallest stripe in the sweater. What else can I tell you about it? I feel like I'm not doing that great of a job talking to you about it. Yeah, it's supposed to be this slouchy, hairy V-neck with color blocks. Oh, the colors. So the way that I designed this sweater, it should be pretty foolproof for you to pick colors. I did it so that you choose a color that you want for you, and I'll have all the instructions in the pattern in terms of picking your color. So you pick a color, any color on the color wheel that you like a lot. And it could be a tone. It doesn't have to be a primary or, you know, tertiary color. So you would pick, like, say you decide your best color is going to be blue. So you say you pick blue. I ask you then to go across the color wheel and choose a color that's in the wheel for your contrast. And then off of your main color, you're going to pick a color that is, you're going to pick 3 tonal colors. So you would basically pick 3 shades of blue that shade off of each other. Those 3. And then you choose one of them to be your main color. And the other 2 will then become your secondary colors for striping. So that's how this works, with the high contrast going across here in this small amount of color. And yeah, and then I chose to use the darkest color for the main color. You could choose whichever one of those you want. And then I chose the lightest color for my contrast color 1, and the mid-tone for contrast color 2, and then my high contrast is contrast color 3. That's how that works. So yeah, it's pretty foolproof, I think. And you may see some aggravation or some disruption when you're looking at this palette, but that is intentional. You want that kind of disruption, that high contrast, almost like, oh, weird color contrast, but it works. It seems to work. You want kind of that, oh, not sure I like this, but then, oh, wait, I think I really do like this. This actually looks really good. And the way you're going to know that it works is because you're working from the color wheel. I think it would also work if you did you see the triangles in the middle? I think it would work if you worked with those within the structure of those triangles as well. So if you wanted to do, say, red, or no, let's go back to blue. Let's just keep it consistent. So maybe you're not really into these orange shades that are over here. Maybe you're just like, oh, can I choose this instead? You can. You can even choose the red if you want. Or you can go on the other side of the triangle and choose this cheese doodle color, or choose gold, and you'd still be fine for your high contrast colors. There's absolutely some variability. We're not just talking about a handful of combos. There's really a whole lot of combos. So yeah, that's how that works. And it's just really pretty straightforward color theory that I think is pretty foolproof. Yeah, in my view anyway. So, and you'll get this style. When I was looking, so Rochelle, the woman who runs Moondrake Yarn Company, it is Moondrake Yarn Company, right? Moondrake Company? Moondrake Co, not Yarn Co. Moondrake Co. She has so many colors in this yarn, a really broad palette, and this yarn is fairly new to the field, so that made it a little more exciting for me, and I've really wanted to try it. It is really expensive though, and she doesn't tend to put it on sale, but I didn't really mind that because I was like, this is for fashion, for Vogue. I really want to make what I want to make without worrying about budget, and I had been on a low buy year last year, so I felt like I had I deserved, or whatever, I felt like I should buy what I want because I'm hardly buying anything. So yeah, I went ahead and made the plunge. I will say, if it is out of your budget to buy the yarn from Rochelle, I think a regular silk mohair could be used too. I also think it would be fine with fingering weight and a mohair held together if you wanted to do that, if that's something you're familiar with. And there's all kinds of, when you talk about fingering weight yarn and mohair options, there's a wide range of price points. Doesn't have to be indie dyed. It could be from a commercial yarn company. So there's a lot of variability. I think that would work pretty well, a regular fingering weight and mohair. But I would also say, whatever works with whatever you get gauge with will be just fine. You don't have to use, the bajillion skeins. I didn't really use that many. So just to go through the colors, I needed 3 skeins of this, 2 skeins of this, 1 skein of that, so that I'm at 5, and potentially 1, maybe 2 skeins of this. So it would be 6, 7 skeins maybe if you're, I'm in the middle of the range. So around, I'm making a size, I think it's a 46 or 47 inch bust. So if you were my size or smaller, you're fine with that yield. You probably could, even if you're smaller than me, you could probably get away with 1 skein here. Definitely 1 skein here. If you're 1 size or 2 bigger than me, then you probably get away with the same 7. A little bit bigger, you probably need an extra of all the colors except the contrast. So if you're on the high end, the far end of the scale. Just FYI. I am going to be looking for preview testers, which means you would get the pattern for free, and all I ask is that you make a Ravelry project page if you're on Ravelry, and provide any notes or any time that you got confused by the directions. But I think it's a pretty straightforward knit. The pattern is pretty well situated, but I don't want to commit to a release date yet because I don't know what is ahead of me in terms of this home buying process. So I may end up getting sidelined by some of the things that I need to do for that. I'm probably going to move in April, if you're wondering. That's what it looks like. I get the house or the apartment in at the end of March, and there's some work to do. So once the work is done, I'll be able to move in. So it'll probably be like mid to end April. Couple week or 2 into May maybe, before I can move in. It just depends on how fast all of the work gets done. It should be done pretty fast, but you never know. So I hope to release this like by the beginning of March, but I'm gonna need to see how it goes, and how quickly I finish knitting it. This second skein of this pink just arrived this morning, so I can cake that and start working on the sleeves once I'm done with the neckband. And then I may be in a position where I'm waiting for the rose quartz to come to finish the second sleeve, but we'll see. We'll see. All right, talking a lot. Don't mean to, but you know, there are things to talk about. Okay, so that is that whip. I think that's the first time you're seeing it, because I think so I knit a lot, right? Size, 4.5 needles. You knit a lot. I did make a little dent on my ward sweater by, oh my goodness, her name just went out of my head. I'm going to put it on screen. I can picture it, kind of, part of it. Anyway, it's on screen. This is a pattern by, Sloan Rosenthal. That's it. By Sloan Rosenthal. She is the owner of Hudson and Forge Yarn Company, which I haven't ever seen their yarn that I'm aware of anyway, that I remember. But I'm going to look for it at Vogue. Maybe they'll be at Vogue. But yeah, this is the ward sweater. I am knitting it out of a very bright green, which looks kind of dull on screen. I might open the window by me open the shade, because it was shining direct sunshine on me, which was just whiting me out. But I think it's probably the sun has shifted and maybe the colors will be brighter. Anyway, this is some Winsley worsted by Labiana May in the colorway Lush. Labiana May, Amy of Labiana May, had a sale. She has a sale a couple times a year. This one was 20% off. No, free shipping. I think it was free shipping. Yeah. So I think if you bought from her, it was free shipping, free worldwide shipping. So I just jumped on that because free worldwide shipping, her yarn, free worldwide shipping is less expensive than buying it direct from any yarn seller here in the US. So it was a huge cost saving. I want to estimate I saved around $50 or $60 by buying it at one of her free worldwide shipping days. So well worth it, which was one of the reasons why I splurged on this yarn. The Winsley Worsted is a Falkland Corriedale and Falkland Merino and Wensleydale blend. It is so beautiful. I am so sad that I am not further along, but I did make a little progress. I knit probably an inch or two since I last showed it to you, and I hope to be making more progress. This will probably be the project that I will concentrate on once this one is put to bed and ready for my my trip to Vogue in New York. But I'm really enjoying it. It's a little slow for me because it does require a chart because you're doing those cables and the stitch pattern. And yeah, I tend to like more what I would call a concentration knit. I tend to like concentration knits in the morning, but I've been really putting all my energy into finishing this sweater here. So this has been like taking a lot of my time, but I'm nearly there. I know I can finish sleeves, 2 sleeves in a week, so I should finish this by next week. And then the next time I'm talking to you will be after Vogue, so I should have some footage and stuff from that. And then I'll be presenting this, and I may even have the pattern ready for preview. So a couple people have reached out to me and said they're interested in preview testing. I will reach out to you if I can, figure out. Oh, I would say, you know what? If you are interested, even if you've reached out to me already, the simplest way to reach out to me is through Ravelry. Just direct message me and tell me, hey, I'm someone who's interested in testing, and let me know your what chest size you would do. I would say it's got about 6 to 8 inches of ease. It's meant to be baggy, not quite as loose and baggy as this, but definitely kind of a more sloppy, cozy, comfy fit. So yeah, Martha and I have a pretty big bust for our rib cage circumference, so it's hard to get things that look baggy on us. Although this one is doing a really good job. I should see what the chest is ended up being on this. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. But anyway, yeah, so do reach out to me on Ravelry, and if you're not on Ravelry, I'll put my email down below, and I'll put the link to my Ravelry. I guess to message me, Whisky and Wool. That's just find me as Whisky and Wool on Ravelry, and or Instagram would be fine too. But that will help me kind of know who, and let me know your size ish, so I get an idea of what sizes will be tested. Yeah, so that is that. That is the Winsley worsted ward sweater. I think I showed you this before, maybe not. I don't remember. I have yet another Manhattan hat on the needles, and it was funny, like as I said to you before when I was talking about my finished object, I was playing with what I had in terms of yarn, and I had 2 extra skeins of this Todd base, which was what Jackie of Caddy Jack's Knits had used with a strand of mohair. So I went ahead and cast that on, and I made about 1 inch, and I literally woke up in the morning and I was like, oh my God, I have turquoise mohair. I think I have some fingering weight that I can hold 2 double. Let me go do that. So I had made I knit maybe this much of this color, and then I stopped, cast this on, finished it, cast a second one on, and then I've okay, I need to go back and finish this one. So yeah, this is the Todd worsted, and I'm holding it with, I want to use up stash because I'm moving and I don't want to take this stash with me. So I'm holding it together with this very bright pink from a dyer that I don't know if she dyes anymore. It's old stash, deep stash. So yeah, it's these 2 together. You can kind of see the difference between the cuff, and so this is much more keyed up and bright with the holding the fuchsia mohair, but I love it. I think it'll be fun. And from what Jackie said, 2 skeins of this should be enough to make the triple fold. So that is the plan. Just plugging along. Instead of a sock, this is my meeting knit. This is the knit that comes with me, my travel knit. This is the knit that I reach for when I'm sitting in a meeting because it's easy, it's small, compact. I'm able to hold it on my lap. No one sees it. And yeah, just very simple. So maybe I'll have this done next time I see you. If I'm working on this still, this will be what will come to vogue with me for me to work on when I'm hanging out. Or if I'm done with this one, the other turquoise one will be the one that I'll bring with me. So yeah, I'm like, I have this. Let me show you. You can see the jars back here. I have 4 of these jars sitting here on the counter. One is holding superwash mini skeins. This one is my non-superwash mini skeins. One is holding spin cycle single skeins, and then the other one is holding all my fuzzy yarns. So full and partial skeins of Mohair-silk, Surrey, other things. So yeah, I want to use this. I want to use these up. So you might see more of these Manhattan hats. Maybe that's going to be the present, the Christmas present I give the most of, or whatever, occasion gift to friends and family who might be interested in it. So, or in having one. Yeah, so yeah, that is what's happening there. So maybe you'll be tired of, you might have been tired last year of seeing the DRK everyday sock over and over. This year, you'll be tired of the Manhattan hat. Seeing that over and over. Who knows? I might change my mind too. We don't know. I have one other whip to share with you, and then we'll wrap it up. This is an interesting one. I am in the middle of a row. All right, I'm making a throw. I think I mentioned this last episode that one of my sons requested a throw, and his aesthetic is such that he and his partner both really love neutral colors, especially in the gray, black, white spectrum. I think, I would say their house, the way they have their home decorated, is a lot of that. I think their couch is either a very, very dark gray or black. And they have some blue and some bright toned accents, but very few. Everything's very neutral. And that's the way they dress too. Like that's just what they like. It's cool. I like it. So I am making a throw. And I am doing my own version of the Pearl Soho throw that was made for Knit Collage sister, I want to say. So I sort of do a riff on it. I've been making riffs of this blanket for a decade, I would say. I think the pattern came out quite some time ago. And what I've learned is that I really like 1x1 rib for throws because it's reversible. And I really like the stitch definition that you get with a 1x1 throw. Because the only other stitch that's really truly reversible is garter. And garter is fine, but to me it's a less sophisticated stitch for home furnishings, garter versus 1x1 rib. So I like the way 1x1 rib looks, especially in a really chunky knit like this, because it looks like a regular just stockinette stitch to someone who doesn't really know knitting. Us knitters, we understand, but people who don't really understand knitting would just perceive this as a 1x1. And what I am doing is holding 10 strands together 10 strands of yarn together, and I'm knitting on 10 millimeter US size 15. I think that's right. Yes, 10 millimeter US size 15 size needles. I almost wish I used bigger needles, but I don't know. I might have 17, which would be 12 millimeter. I definitely have 20 millimeter needles, and that seemed really big. That would have been a really loosey-goosey loose. And it's not easy to knit with really fat needles. Even needles this size are you know, they're a little clumsy. And the knit on the needles looks a little narrower. The finished narrower than it will be, because when I block, because it's sitting like this, it's doing what rib does, which means all of those knit stitches pull together and the purl stitches fall in the back and then form knit stitches on the other side. But when I block it, it'll block out like this, more open. I'm trying to use up stash. I counted before I cast this on, I have at least 70, I probably have more, single skeins of superwash indie dyed yarn that I have collected since 2015. A long time. And I mean, for a few years when indie dyers were really prolific and they were pretty new, a lot of new people hitting the scene and stuff, it was really intriguing and interesting to like just buy a pretty skein, like go to a fair and buy a pretty skein, or see a pretty skein on Instagram and just buy one. So I did that frequently, and I ended up with a lot of single skeins. And I had also thought, like at the time, like in the first couple years of that, probably up through like 2018, 2019 even, I was sort of thinking, I was like, oh, you know, Stephen West comes out with these patterns and, you know, you need 5 or 6 different single skeins, so I'll just use them for that. And after I made a few Stephen West shawls, I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm done making these shawls. And I wasn't a sock knitter for the longest time. So the appeal of what to do with those single skeins kind of fell by the wayside, and I stopped buying them, of course, and I started to concentrate on sweater quantities instead. So I was buying sweater quantities instead. And then my buying shifted to more non-superwash, more sheepy wools, because I just love to wear those more than I do the superwash, because they're cozier. They just feel better on my, to me anyway. Like your own mileage may vary. Like maybe you really love the way superwash feels. To me, in the climate that I live in, superwash is really good for those transitional seasons. So for like spring and fall, when you want something that's a little warmer, but you don't want to feel the weight of something on you, like I think it feels really great. Like I love them for that. Like I wear superwash sweaters all summer because air conditioning. So it's perfect for going into air conditioning, like a superwash cardigan, throw it on over the t-shirt that I'm wearing or tank top that I'm wearing, and I instantly feel covered and comfortable. So long story short, what I did was I dug through my, I'm not going to go through all of these, but I dug through and just pulled out anything that was gray, black, or leaning black colors. I'll have them all listed on my project page if you really want to know what exactly I put together. But I'll put a picture here on screen for you to see the color, the cakes together. But it was a little bit, there's 2 skeins that are Garn Story, there are 2 skeins that are Stitch Together Studio, there are 2 skeins that are Vine, there's a couple other random single skeins, but anything that was black, gray tones, and even leaning more towards blue or purple, if they look black, there's a couple brownish, blackish skeins in there, some dyers who are no longer dyeing, that I'm holding together. And after knitting about this much, I think I have about a foot, my goal is to make a throw size blanket, which would be about 50 by 60 inches, 50 inches by 60, so 50 inches wide, 60 inches long. After knitting about this much, I could tell that these 10 skeins were not going to be enough. So I dug through my partial skeins. I think what I'm going to get with those is about 45 inches. I want another 15. So I went through partial skeins and minis, and I found quite a few leftovers that are in that same color family.
I don't know if I'll use all of these, but what I'm going to do is start putting these in. I kind of wanted the throw to look pretty similar all the way through. So I'm going to try to be judicious about how I mix the skeins in. I know there's going to be some color variation, of course, as I'm doing this, like bringing in these other colors, these other different yarns. And that's fine, but more or less I want the overall effect to look the same. So yeah, so I'm so excited to get 10 skeins out of my stash and some of these partial skeins that hang around and take up space too, to get those knit up and into something finished object that will be well loved and cared for and, you know, appreciated. So very happy about that. This is not a portable project though, so it'll probably be a little slow going, even though, you know, one row is probably about a ½ inch, so it's like pretty good. I move through the yarn pretty fast. And when I'm done with this one, my other son caught wind of that I was making this for, you know, one guy. The other one was like, I want one too. And he loves shades of purple and blue, and I went and looked at my single skeins, and I have plenty of that. So I'll be duplicating this blanket, this throw for him once this one's done. So hopefully I'll get both of these throws done before I move, because that will significantly take a big bite out of the stash that I have, which, yay. Yay. Really want that. When I last talked to you, I was a little stressed out about storage and how I was going to store my stash. I can tell you that I'm pretty sure I have a solution. I don't think any stash will need to be discarded or even sold off at, you know, low prices. I think I'm fine. I think I'll be able to fit everything. I have a cupboard in the other room, a portable cupboard storage situation that is full of stuff that would really do better in a closet. So I think I'm going to use that. And I have lots of closets in this new space. So I have some big closets. So I'm probably going to use that cupboard for the yarn. And when I measured the cubic feet of this thing right here that a lot of my yarn is sitting in, and the piece behind me that a lot of my yarn is sitting in, the cubic feet of this other unit is much bigger. It's a huge difference. So it should all fit, but I am going to do a trial run. I'm working on getting that emptied out because there's a lot of stuff in there that's just old and just needs to be donated or recycled and stuff like that. So I'm going to do a trial run of moving, like, you know, one full drawer of yarn from here into that unit and just seeing how it all fits and making sure that I'm not delusional about what I'll be able to fit. But my only concern now is going to be the fiber, because fiber tends to take a lot of space. But I think if I vacuum bag it, it should be fine. So yeah, crossing that bridge when I get there. But in the meanwhile, I'm going to work as if I can fit it all. And if I can't, there's a spot in the apartment for a dining room table and chairs, which I do not have. I don't have that right now in my current space. And it's something that I will get once I move. So that spot where the table will go could hold things temporarily while I figure out what to do if I really run into trouble. So that is what I am counting on. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. So yeah, I think like my stress about my stash really went down, although I am not inclined to buy it even one skein. Saying that now, but I'm going to Vogue in 2 weeks and I'm going to really try to not buy anything. I'm just going to look at a lot of stuff because it is really nice to see everything in person. And there has been many times that I've gone to Vogue or Rhinebeck or whatever, some other festival, where I'm like, I should have gotten that yarn, And then when I get home, I go buy the yarn. So, or I buy it like a month down the road or something like that. So I anticipate that happening more than me going and coming home with loads of stash. If I come home with more than 2 or 3 skeins, I will be very surprised. Because I really want to reduce what I have anyway, and this is a great reason to just cut what I have and, you know, get it gone. Get it into projects and out there in the world, being loved and worn and used. That's what it's all about, right? So yeah, that is my episode this week. I have the other session, which I have not done since before Vlogmas, and it will be back next time. I just simply did not have the time this past week and a half to do the research that I needed to do on the questions. So I'm talking about woolly myths. I have a segment called Exploring Woolly Myths, which usually goes here at the end, and it's about 5 or 10 minutes of me telling you some debunking a myth, or telling you that, oh, that myth actually has lots of truth to it. So we explore different things. Like I think I mentioned last time, I explored the term Kitchener stitch. It's a general FYI. You might want to go back and watch that episode back in November. I don't remember right now, but you get it, right? So you can put questions down below. I do have a handful already, but I always need more. If I'm going to fill 20 episodes worth of questions, then I need 20 questions. So go ahead and fill that out, the form, if you have a burning question that, you know, a myth or something that it's usually things that people say, this is what you should do. And you're like, really? I should do that? It's that kind of question that is interesting, and I will help you get to the bottom of why people say it and why it should be done. It's pretty cool and fun. But sorry, I really just didn't have the bandwidth this week. I was too busy filling out lots of forms and all this stuff that is related to securing a loan and getting a contract in and finding an attorney, getting an inspector, all of those things. It's a lot. So yeah, that is, so this is my episode. I did not have any spinning either. I have not yet been inspired this year to spin, but I was thinking about it the other day. I think the reason why I haven't yet spun anything this year is because there's an old spin that's been hanging over my head for a while that is all queued up by my spinning wheel, and I'm not motivated to finish it because it's not a color that is flattering to my tones. It's flattering to my sons though. So because I am blonde and blue-eyed, but my sons are not. They are olive-skinned, dark-eyed, dark-haired men, and those shades of purple and gray will look great on them and not on me. So I just don't have a project in mind, so I just haven't been motivated to spin, but I really want to spin some of the fiber advents that I got this past December, and they're sitting over there right behind Martha. So I just need to finish that. It's one more skein. It won't take me long. And maybe I'll get to it between now and my next episode, and then I'll maybe have some fresh spinning to share with you. So I'm sorry, I hope I'm not coming across as too whiny. I don't mean to at all. Just sharing with you some of the trials and tribulations that I've had the last couple weeks, and it's been a roller coaster. I saw so many places. I put in a couple offers that were rejected because they had other offers before mine, and that's, you start to get kind of jaded, and you're like, oh, am I ever going to find a place? Is my budget wrong? Am I looking in the wrong place? It's just all kinds of like self-doubt and ups and downs, and yeah, I was really happy when this offer was accepted. And that all of that kind of went away. Like, yay, I'm done with that. So, all right, stay tuned for the turkey trot in the middle of the road. Enjoy. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for sticking with me, and I hope I will see you here again in the next episode or two, and take care. And oh my gosh, if you're going to Vogue, I hope to see you. I think I'm only going to be there Friday evening for the marketplace, and I'm having dinner with a friend afterward, and I'm so excited it's a friend that I have never met in real life, and I'm so excited to meet her. I will share as much as I can with you in the next episode, but I don't think I'm planning to be there Saturday. I did sign up for a class Saturday morning, but I don't know if I'm going to have the energy to go, given what's happening, and it will just depend. So I may be around Saturday, maybe not, but definitely Friday in the marketplace, wandering around. If you see me, please come up and say hi. I would love to meet you, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.